So, it's the end of yet another week, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend, I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. We're in the middle of the slow part of the off-season, and while there are still a few rumors floating around, and a handful of notable players still available as free agents, it's been mostly calm for a while, but we do still have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Jonah, and he says that the Miami Heat are going to fall all the way to the play-in tournament this season because of the offseason that they just had. So now that we're at the point in the summer where NBA teams are nearly finished making significant moves and the dust has settled, we can look at the Heat and objectively be a bit underwhelmed by it. The Heat made it all the way to the conference finals, where they were even one shot away from making it to the finals last year, but the reality is that they only achieved that level of success because Jimmy Butler went completely bonkers in the playoffs and carried them through countless important stretches, while many of their other key contributors underperformed. Bam Adebayo had a subpar showing in the playoffs outside of a few games. Tyler Hero was dreadful in the playoffs after winning the 6th Man of the Year award in the regular season. Kyle Lowry's age is really starting to catch up with him, and as was mentioned in the original take, PJ Tucker is now gone, and the team didn't bring in anyone else to replace his effort and tenacity. They're basically running it back with the same team that they had last year minus Tucker, which isn't the worst thing in the world since they were just the 1 seed in the conference, but it also means they still have the exact same weaknesses, while other teams in the East have improved a ton around them. The Heat were a mediocre at best offense when the game slowed down last year because Jimmy Butler had way too much of the burden to create on his shoulders, and that will likely still be the same this year. If they want to be able to take a step forward this season, they're going to need Victor Oladipo to return to the form that he was in during his early Pacers tenure, but we haven't seen him at that level in years. So while I disagree with this specific take saying that they're going to be a play-in team, because I do think that they're much better than that, I can definitely see them regressing overall. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Toasty, and he says that Kevin Durant is officially no longer a top 5 player in the NBA. What's crazy is that after 2 seasons ago, most of the conversations about this topic were placing Durant at the very top of the list as the best player in the league, but now 1 year later, the narrative has completely shifted, and honestly, it's not that difficult to see why. This season was yet another campaign that he missed out on about a third of the team's games due to injury. The Nets were one of the most disappointing teams in the league, having to make their way out of the play-in tournament just to make the playoffs, and then it concluded with an embarrassing sweep at the hands of the Boston Celtics. Additionally, in that series against the Celtics, Durant had a terrible showing, shooting the ball very poor from the field, and not being able to get to his spots because of the Celtics' stifling defense. Durant is also going to be 34 years old by the time that next season begins, so he's getting up there, and it's not crazy to think that he's starting to slow down. In terms of the top 5 players right now, the 5 that he mentioned in the take all do have good cases to be ranked higher than him. Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid are the top 2 MVP candidates from each of the past 2 seasons. Luka Doncic has been producing at an insane rate and is coming off of a conference finals run. Steph Curry is the reigning finals MVP and NBA champion, and Giannis Antetokounmpo is arguably the best player in the league right now who dominates both ends of the floor. Because of this, I actually do think Durant is slipping down the totem pole and needs a huge bounce back year to regain his status. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from McGee, and he says that Zion Williamson is about to become an MVP candidate and help lead the Pelicans to contention status. The turnaround the Pelicans pulled off last year was actually pretty insane, as they started the season winning just one of their first 13 games, and then went on to make the playoffs and push the 1-seed Suns to 6 games in that first round series they played. They did all of this, mind you, without Zion Williamson playing a single game last year, and now they're carrying a ton of momentum going into next year, ready to make another major step forward. The last time Zion Williamson was on the court, he had one of the most dominant paint scoring seasons of all time, where he averaged 27 points per game, shooting 61% from the field. When healthy, Zion has been an absolute beast, and inserting his production into the lineup has already been moving in the right direction, which is definitely a good sign and a good reason to be optimistic about the Pelicans next year. The issue with Zion, obviously, has been that he hasn't been able to stay on the court consistently, and when you miss an entire season of play, it becomes much more difficult to predict what kind of production you should expect to see from him. Will he start slowly as he readjusts to the pace of play at this level? Will he be fully in shape when he comes back? These are questions we won't have an answer to until the games start back up. However, if he is able to return to the form that he was in 2 seasons ago, then the Pelicans will absolutely be a scary bunch. In that scenario, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for the team to finish in the top 4 of the Western standings. Regarding Zion's MVP odds, though, that's where we should probably pump the brakes. The current Pelicans team is much more balanced, with Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum producing at a high level around him, and with everything else I just mentioned, Zion probably won't be able to match other MVP candidates' productions immediately after an injury. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Ryan, and he says that both Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole will be leaving the Warriors after this season. So, in case you're unaware, this is the last year where the whole core of the Warriors will be together under contract, because after this season, Wiggins, Poole, and Draymond Green all become free agents. On top of that, all 3 of them are going to be demanding either max contracts or contracts close to a max contract, and the fact of the matter is that there's only so much money a team is able to spend, and the Warriors won't be able to afford to keep all 3 of them. It's why the Warriors aren't going to be like most other championship winners, because this year is the last year of them all being together, and they're going to be extra motivated to go back to back. Regarding the contract situation, though, I do think the Warriors will prioritize Draymond Green, and he'll get an extension, but I do not believe that that means that both Wiggins and Poole will be on their way out. They'll still be able to retain one of those 2, and this year will likely determine which one of them they choose to extend. It's not an easy decision at all, and I honestly can't tell which one I would want to choose at this point in time, but I don't see a situation where both Wiggins and Poole leave. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.